Hey guys, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. It's Saturday and we've got this knife for you today. Finally, after waiting for so long. Whew. It took a while for me to get this knife. I ordered it almost as soon as I could. But being in Canada, if I ordered this and had it delivered straight to Canada from China or Sweden or the Netherlands or wherever, Belgium, GearBest ships from all over the place, or any other store for that matter, it probably would have got confiscated by CBSA, or a good chance. So I ordered it, had it sent to my sister in Nebraska, and she sent it to me, and now I've had it for about 12 days. And a number of you are asking for the review, so I'm giving you the review now instead of waiting any longer. We have Ganzo's first knife with D2 steel. That's been verified. It's genuine D2. And I think you guys are going to be interested in it. So stick around for the tabletop mode and the full review coming at you right now. Okay, so here it is. Now, I don't know if this is a copy of another knife, because Ganzo has a long history of taking knives that other companies have had success with and saying, I'm going to copy that style of knife. Now, this is such a simple style. Probably everybody and their dog who makes knives has made a knife that looks a fair bit like this. Basically, I call this a candy bar shape. It's a little bit wider here than it is here, but basically you've got almost parallel lines, and it's just, you know, like one point on each end. Very, very simple. Almost a straight back, very slight drop point, and then a flat grind. Very, very simple flipper design. But they executed it wonderfully. Really, really good job. So it's a Firebird FH11 made by Ganzo, and that's exactly what they say on this side of the knife right there in nice small letters. It says Firebird knife made by Ganzo, FH11 D2 for D2 steel, and it's been verified at people who have the right equipment to verify it. And because I trust Lee over at Love Them Knives, and he's the one who had sent the FH11 away to get tested. So very good. We've got a little bit of jimping here on the spine of the blade. Just enough to give you a little bit extra grip. I like that. And the only other jimping is right there on the flipper tab. So when it's in the guard position, that helps a little bit. And when you go to flip the knife open, it does a good job there as well, because light switch mode is the only mode that works with this knife. You can't just push down and get it to go, and that's because you're pushing down right over top of the center point of the pivot area, and you need to be behind it in order to get a knife to flip out. So light switch mode it is. For those of you who like the push button flipper tab mode, sorry. We've got this nice swedge up here. Really beautiful. Nice flat satin grind. Looks nice. And a very good edge. You've got a choil here to release the liner lock. And that liner lock has got a slight chamfer on it on the release tab, and it's perfect. Just big enough to be functional and not so big to be annoying. And, you know, either hand is just fine. So lefties will like that part, but lefties might not like the G10 version, or sorry, the carbon fiber laminate version. And that's what this is, a carbon fiber laminate on top of this G10 handle scale. We've got inset liners. So you can't quite see them. You can just see them if I move it this way a little bit, looking right at that edge. Well, let's show you the inside picture right now, because there's nothing to be seen really there. So no skeletonizing, but we've got steel ball bearings, and that's a good thing. I'll show you the inside for the pictures for the lanyard release, because that's kind of cool. You can just put your paracord through that loop behind that piece of steel, and you've got a nice way to attach a lanyard without having a hole. So I like that. I'll give you close-up pictures of that. So, oh, I forgot. There's a tiny bit of jimping here on this backspacer here. So it is a backspacer knife, but it's functionally very much like an open pillar, just as easy to clean. A lot of people say that they want open pillar construction knives because they're easier to clean. In my experience, it's the same amount of work either way. What ends up being more work is the skeletonized liners. That is what creates more work, and it creates a fair bit more work sometimes. No skeletonizing here, so not extra work there. But we do have the ball bearings, and the action is great. The action was good from the factory, and they use a grease of some sort. And when I put it back together, I got rid of all the grease, and I put a really light oil in, and now the action is even better. Solid, no blade play, side to side, up and down. Lockup position is perfect. Lockup is exactly where you want a brand new knife to be. You can also see how thin the steel gets right there. And that's for that piece of, whoa. And that's for the access for your thumb to get at that spot to close the knife. We've got pocket clip. That's a deep carry pocket clip. And it looks pretty deep in the pocket. Unfortunately, like I was saying before, and I interrupted myself, there's no left-hand option on the carbon fiber laminate one. I don't have a G10 version handy, but some of the knives that Ganzo has done, they put holes in the liner on the other side as well, but that's pretty much exclusively on their access lock versions. So there's no holes in the steel on this liner, and I doubt there will be on the G10 versions either. So the option's basically for right-hand carry. Let's see how it looks in a pocket. So it just sort of slides in beautifully, and not much showing right there. The shape of the pocket clip, I just bumped the camera there. The shape of the pocket clip is perfect here. So you've got, you know, the divot or the dip down that holds the fabric. And then you come up and there's a flat part right there. So your pants fabric goes underneath there very easily, and it doesn't create any hot spots with the tip of that. So that's a very good thing. Cons, there's a tiny bit of wear on one of these screws, and that's because it's a free spinning pivot. And so they have to put a screwdriver in each side in order to tighten this. That can become nasty sometimes. If you just put it on a tabletop and try to use two screwdrivers, often it'll fall over and you'll stab yourself with one screwdriver. I've got a small clamp that I put on my tabletop, and I clamp the knife in place so that it's held, and then I can do the two screwdriver trick very well. And I advise everybody to get a clamp like that. In fact, I'll put a link right here at the very end of the video so that you can see my little video about the clamps and the clamp system. So you can click on here at the very end of this video, you'll see it. So there you go. What do I like and not like about this knife? Well, I like just about everything. It's got a nice blade shape, good design, good steel, good grind, hand feel, great size. Hey, let's talk about the sizes. I forgot to do that before. The weight of this knife is 113 grams, 4 ounces, so you don't really need the skeletonizing. 4 ounces even. The cutting edge is 9.1 centimeters, 3.58 inches. The blade length, so from the tip of the G10 right there to the tip of the blade, 8.8 centimeters, 3.47 inches. The blade thickness is 3.3 millimeters, that's 0.131 inches. The blade depth is 2.1 centimeters, 0.84 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.4 millimeters. That's 0.016 inches. And the grind angle. Before I give you the grind angle, let's talk for just a minute. You see how very narrow that edge is? I'll give you a close-up shot of it. You see the main bevel, and then you see the tiny little final grind. There's two reasons for that. Thickness behind the grind influences that, and the grind angle. the steeper the grind angle, so, you know, if this is the cutting edge up here and you've got your blade, the steel here, that's the blade. The bigger the grind angle is, the shorter that distance is on the side that you can see, that shiny steel edge right there. That's this edge right here. So the steeper it is, the less you'll be able to see, because the more narrow it is, it takes longer, more steel to get to the thickness of the distance of the steel behind the grind. The thickness behind the grind is small, 0.4 millimeters. That's really good. The target for most steels would be about 0.5 millimeter. D2 can handle 0.4, no problem. So then why is it such a thin angle there? Well, that's because the grind angle on this side is 21.7, not bad. But the grind angle on this side, I stopped measuring at 28.5 and I still wasn't there yet. So I think it's pretty close to 30 degrees, the final grind on this side, and you can just barely see any of that edge right there. It's very, very thin. So did they make the steel sharp? Yes, they made the steel sharp, and I cut through a bunch of cardboard and stuff. So they did make it sharp, but the grind angle is, well, this is in that top bad 10%. I don't like anything going over 25 degrees. And so when you're at 28.5 and it's still going strong, you still got a long ways to go. Somebody was on the grinding wheel sharpening this at a very different angle on one side from the other. And that's one of the reasons why I always advise to guys, even if you're a budget knife collector and you're not going to use your knife an awful lot, get a good sharpening system. And I'll be doing the full review of the M2 The full review of that sharpening system is coming out soon. The base version of that is $149 US. But that sharpening system is a really good deal for what you get. And then you can make this thing at 20 degrees per side, the way God intended knives of EDC style to be. No, that's not a word from the Lord. That's just Jake talking. I like 20 degrees per side for EDC knives. So let's keep talking about the measurements. Handle size. Handle length is 11.8 centimeters, 4.66 inches. Grip area is 9.8 centimeters, 3.86 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.26 centimeters, which is just under half an inch. And the handle depth, well, it's biggest right up here. It's not much smaller here, but it is smaller. 2.4 centimeters, just about an inch, 0.945. And when the knife is closed, this depth is biggest right there. And that is 2.53 centimeters, very close to an inch, 0.996 of an inch. And the total length of this knife is 20.5 centimeters, which is 8.07 inches. So we've got an 8-inch knife with a 3.5-inch blade, very good proportions. The balance point on this knife is right there. So I like it to be right there. So just ever so tiny bit off, no big deal at all. Very, very nice. The price, well, I got mine through GearBest, and so I'll have links to GearBest down below. I bought this with my own shekels, and so the links are down below so that you can buy this from GearBest, and I might have other stores listed down there as well. I'm not sure yet. So let's quickly go over the pros and the cons again. There's just enough jimping that I like it, not too much. Great shape. Anybody's hand can fit this knife. You know, my hands are large, bordering on extra large, and, you know, this reverse grip works just fine. Even a bigger hand fits in here. Thickness is good. Great knife for handling. I like the inlaid liners. That's a nice touch. That's just cosmetic, but really, really nice. Chamfered edges, so it's not hard on the hand at all. The lanyard hole, that's kind of cool. If you don't use lanyards, hey, I like not having a hole, and it's just hidden in there, so no problem at all. The action is great. The writing on the knife is kind of small. One thing, though, that I find kind of odd is on the carbon fiber version, at least, they've milled out a logo of this sort of dove fire kind of thing right there. So I don't really need it there and there. That's kind of overkill. I'd much rather have it only on the handle scales or only there. That's a really tiny thing, no big deal at all. Good styling. Deployment is really good. Action is great. Deep pocket clip. One of the screws on this knife was slightly damaged from the factory. I don't really like that. I wish they could ship it in pristine condition, but they didn't. I wish they'd make an option for left side pocket clip. You know, even if they just make a separate knife that you can buy a left-hand version. Like, they're a big enough company, they could make some left-hand versions. Or just make it so you can choose either way. It's not too big of a deal to put a couple of holes here. I don't mind them on a budget knife like this, no problem. Be nice to us, Ganzo. Make it good for the lefties. So there you go. Nice knife. I like it a lot. Cuts great. I'm going to sharpen this up really nice. And I've ordered a second one with the carbon fiber because one of them is going to become either the Patreon winner giveaway, or I'm going to find somebody else to give the second one to because, you know, I just like it that much. But the second one's not here yet, so we'll see. So thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing. Thanks for becoming Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.